Captain Tejo sat in his study, holding a small crystal in his hands. The crystal was smooth and warm, like a river stone that had been sitting in sunlight. But this was not from Earth. This crystal came from the stars, from friends he had not spoken to in many years. The crystal began to glow with a soft blue light. Tejo placed it on his desk and stepped back. The light grew brighter, then formed shapes in the air. Soon the face of an old alien friend appeared before him. "Tejo," the alien said. His voice was tired and sad. "I hope this message finds you well. I'm Elder Beowulf of the Velkari people. You may remember me." Tejo did remember. How could he forget? 60 years ago, when humans first traveled to the stars, they had been like children lost in a dark forest. Their ships were small and weak. Their knowledge of space was limited. Many alien races had laughed at them or ignored them completely, but not the Velkari. The hologram of Beowulf continued speaking. "I am sorry to disturb you after so many years, but my people are in great danger. We need help and we have nowhere else to turn." Tejo sat down heavily in his chair. Beowulf looked much older now. His blue skin was pale and his large eyes held deep worry. The Velkari were peaceful traders who traveled between the stars selling goods and sharing knowledge. They had always been kind to everyone they met. "The hegemony has come to our worlds," Beowulf said. "They want our star system for themselves. They have already destroyed 3 of our colony worlds. Millions of our people are dead. The few survivors have fled to our homeworld, but the hegemony fleet surrounds us now." Tejo felt his heart grow cold. The hegemony was a group of warlike alien races that controlled much of the galaxy. They took what they wanted by force and cared nothing for peace or friendship. "We asked the Galactic Council for help," Beowulf continued, "but they say this is not their problem. They call it an internal sector dispute. The Council will do nothing to save us." The old alien's image flickered as the crystal grew dimmer. "I know it has been many years since we last spoke. I know humans have their own problems now. But I remember when your colony ship was lost in the Veil Nebula. Do you remember, old friend?" Tejo closed his eyes. Yes, he remembered. He had been young then, serving as a junior officer on the colony ship Harmony. They had been taking 5,000 human families to establish a new settlement on Kepler 442b. But their navigation system had failed in the dangerous nebula. They were lost with no way to call for help. Their food was running low. Their air recycling system was breaking down. Children were getting sick. The captain had been preparing to give the order to abandon ship when the Velkari trading vessel Morningstar had found them. Beowulf had been younger then too, serving as the ship's cultural officer. The Velkari had not hesitated to help. They shared their food with the hungry humans. They gave them medicine for the sick children. They repaired the human ship's systems and guided them safely out of the nebula. When the humans had tried to pay them, Beowulf had refused. "Friends do not charge friends for kindness," he had said. "Perhaps someday you can help someone else who needs it." Now, 60 years later, that someone was the Velkari themselves. "I do not know if this message will reach you," Beowulf's image said. "I do not know if humans even remember us. But if you receive this, please know that the Velkari people face extinction. We have perhaps days before the hegemony makes their final attack." The hologram faded away, leaving only the crystal on the desk. Its light was almost gone now. Tejo sat in silence for a long moment. Then he picked up his communication device and called his old friend Dr. Sora. "Tejo?" Sora's voice came through the speaker. "It is late. Is everything all right? Sora, I need you to come to my house right away. And bring your files on the Velkari." "The Velkari? Why would you?" "Wait. Tejo, what has happened? Just come. And Sora, call Admiral Dongsu. Tell him we need to meet tonight." An hour later, the 3 old friends sat around Tejo's kitchen table. Sora was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her life studying alien races and cultures. She knew more about non-human species than almost anyone on Earth. Admiral Dongsu was tall and serious. His uniform was covered with medals from a lifetime of military service. He now commanded all of Earth's space defense forces. Tejo showed them the crystal's message. Both friends watched in silence as Beowulf's plea played out before them. When it ended, Sora spoke first. "The poor creatures. The Velkari are completely peaceful. They have never hurt anyone. How many of them are left?" Dongsu asked. "Before the attacks, there were about 50 million Velkari spread across 7 worlds," Sora replied. "If 3 worlds have been destroyed, Then maybe 15 or 20 million survivors, Dongsu finished. All trapped on one planet, surrounded by hegemony warships. We have to help them, Taeho said. They saved thousands of human lives 60 years ago. They asked for nothing in return. Dongsu leaned back in his chair. Taeho, I understand how you feel. But the Valkyrie system is hundreds of light years from here. It would take our fastest ships weeks to get there. The Galactic Council has made it clear that humans should not interfere in other sectors, Sora added. If we attack hegemony forces, it could mean war. The Council? Taeho said with anger. The same council that still treats us like children. The same council that gives us the worst trade routes and ignores our request for better diplomatic status. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of the city. Earth had grown so much since first contact with aliens. Human technology had advanced quickly. Human ships now traveled to dozens of star systems. But the galaxy still saw them as newcomers. Primitives who were useful but not important. What if I told you that we could help the Valkyrie? Taeho asked. What if I told you that we have been preparing for something like this for years? Dongsu and Sora looked at each other with surprise. What do you mean? Sora asked. Taeho turned back to face them. The ships that patrol our borders. The ones the aliens see when they visit our space. Those are not our real fleet. Taeho, what are you talking about? Dongsu asked. But his voice was quiet now, as if he was beginning to understand. For 60 years we have been building in secret. Learning. Growing stronger. The galaxy thinks we are weak because that is what we wanted them to think. Taeho walked to his desk and pulled out a secure communication device. Admiral, you know about Project Gratitude. You helped plan it. Dongsu's eyes widened. You cannot be serious. That project was meant for defense only, in case Earth was ever attacked. The Valkyrie are our friends, Taeho replied. When friends are in danger, defending them is defending ourselves. He activated the communication device and spoke into it. This is Captain Taeho. Authorization code 77 Alpha 9. Activate Project Gratitude. Prepare the real fleet for immediate departure. A voice answered from the device. Confirmed, Captain. Fleet Admiral Deun sends her regards. She says the ships have been ready for years. Taeho looked at his two friends. The Valkyrie saved us when no one else would. Now we will save them. He picked up the crystal from his desk. Its light was completely gone now, but he knew that somewhere in the darkness between stars an old friend was waiting for help. Send a message to the Valkyrie homeworld, he told the communication device. Tell them this, we remember our debts. Hold on. As the message was sent racing across the galaxy at faster than light speed, Taeho smiled for the first time in days. The galaxy was about to learn something new about humanity. They were about to learn what happened when humans repaid their debts. The Galactic Council building rose from the planet's surface like a crystal mountain. Its walls were made of transparent aluminum that caught and scattered light in beautiful patterns. Inside, representatives from hundreds of different alien species worked to govern the galaxy. Or at least, they pretended to govern it. Counselor Yujin walked through the great halls, her footsteps echoing on the polished floors. She was one of only 3 humans allowed to work in the council building. Earth had been given a small voice in galactic politics, but everyone knew it did not mean much. Yujin was a diplomat. She had spent 20 years learning alien languages and customs. She knew how to speak politely to creatures with tentacles, how to bow properly to beings made of living crystal, and how to avoid offending the gas cloud entities that ruled 3-star systems. But politeness only went so far. She entered the main council chamber, where today's session was already beginning. The chamber was huge, with seats arranged in circles that went up toward the ceiling. Each species had their own section, designed for their particular needs. The water-breathing Aquarians sat in tanks filled with blue liquid. The silicon-based rocklings rested on heated stone platforms. The energy beings floated in special containment fields. And in a small section near the back, 3 humans sat at a simple metal table. Yujin took her seat next to Minister Hyunsu, Earth's military representative. He was a quiet man who spent most of his time listening and taking notes. The 3rd human was Commander Jin Woo, officially listed as a cultural attaché but actually an intelligence officer. At the center of the chamber, High Arbiter Vexithala called for order. She was a Zentheri, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Her body looked like a tall, thin tree made of silver metal, with glowing blue nodes where a human would have eyes. Today we discussed trade disputes in the Outer Rim, Vexthala announced. Her voice came through translation devices that turned her metallic sounds into words each species could understand. Yujin waited patiently as various representatives argued about shipping routes and tax rates. Finally, when there was a break in the discussion, she stood up. High Arbiter, I request permission to address the council. A few alien heads turned toward her. Most ignored her completely. The human representative may speak, Vexthala said with the tone adults use when letting children ask questions. Thank you, High Arbiter. I wish to discuss the situation in the Velkari system. As the council knows, the hegemony has attacked Velkari worlds, killing millions of innocent civilians. I formally request that the council intervene to stop this slaughter. Laughter echoed through the chamber. Not pleasant laughter, but the cruel kind that bullies make when someone weak tries to stand up to them. A representative from the hegemony stood up. He was a Krex warrior, covered in thick armor that made him look like a walking tank. The human speaks of matters that do not concern her species. The Velkari system is in hegemony space. What happens there is not the council's business. Millions of people are dying, Yujin replied, her voice growing louder. How is that not the council's business? Because they are weak, the Krex warrior said. In the galaxy, the strong take what they need from the weak. This is natural law. More laughter came from the hegemony section. Yujin felt her face grow hot with anger, but she kept her voice calm. The Velkari are peaceful traders. They have never threatened anyone. They have given much knowledge and help to many species, including humans. Yes, we know about your friendship with the Velkari, Vexthala said. How touching. But the council cannot interfere in every local conflict. The resources of the galaxy are limited. Limited? Yujin asked. The council has thousands of warships. The Galactic Fleet could stop the hegemony attacks in days. The Galactic Fleet has more important duties, Vexthala replied, such as keeping primitive species from causing trouble in sectors where they do not belong. The message was clear. Humans should mind their own business. Yujin sat down, defeated. Around her, the council returned to discussing trade routes as if millions of lives meant nothing. After the session ended, Yujin walked with Hyunsu and Jinwoo toward their small offices in the basement of the building. Every time, Hyunsu said quietly, every time we ask for help, they treat us like children. Children who should be grateful for what little they are given, Jinwoo added. I have been watching the other representatives. Half of them do not even know where Earth is located. They reached their offices, which were small and poorly furnished. Yujin unlocked her door and they all went inside. I have been doing some research, Jinwoo said as he closed the door behind them. The council says they cannot help the Velkari, but that is not the whole truth. He pulled out a datapad and showed them files marked with security codes. Where did you get these? Yujin asked. I have my ways, Jinwoo replied with a small smile. Look at this. 3 council members have received large payments from hegemony banks in the past year, including Vexthala herself. Yujin studied the financial records. They have been bribed? It appears so. The hegemony wants the Velkari mining worlds. The council gets paid to look the other way. Hyunsu shook his head in disgust. So much for galactic justice. There is more, Jinwoo continued. I have been monitoring hegemony communications. Their fleet in the Velkari system is not as strong as they pretend. Most of their ships are old and poorly maintained. They are winning through numbers alone, not superior technology. What good does that knowledge do us? Yujin asked. Earth's fleet is small. Even if we wanted to help, we could not fight the hegemony. Jinwoo and Hyunsu looked at each other strangely. Yujin, Hyunsu said slowly. What do you know about Earth's actual military strength? I know we have about 50 patrol ships and 200 defense platforms around Earth itself. Why? That is what we tell the aliens, Hyunsu replied. That is what they are supposed to think. Before Yujin could ask what he meant, her communication device beeped. A message had arrived from Earth, coded with the highest security levels. She opened it and read the short text. Package is ready for delivery. TH, who is TH? She asked. Captain Taeho, Hyunsu replied. He is someone very important, someone who has been planning for a day like this for many years. Planning what? Yujin, you have spent your career trying to make aliens respect us through diplomacy. That is good work and it is needed, but sometimes respect comes from strength. Jinwoo activated a wall screen and pulled up a star chart showing the local area of the galaxy. The Council sees us as primitive newcomers, he said. They think our technology is weak because that is what we have shown them. They think our military is small because we have only let them see a few ships. But that is the truth, is it not? Hyojin asked. No, Hyunsu said. That is the lie we have been telling them for 60 years. The lights in the office suddenly dimmed and emergency alarms began sounding throughout the council building. What is happening? Hyojin asked. Jinwoo checked his datapad, which was now flashing with urgent messages. Long-range sensors have detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts, size unknown. Pirates? Hyojin suggested. No, Hyunsu said with a strange smile. I think Captain Taeho's package has arrived. The three humans hurried to the nearest observation deck where other council representatives were already gathering. Through the huge windows they could see stars in the distance, and moving among those stars were lights that had not been there before. Impossible, Vexithala said as she joined the crowd. Our sensors show dozens of massive objects, but they are not showing up clearly on our screens. A hegemony military advisor was speaking rapidly into a communication device. All defense fleets report status. Unknown contacts approaching council space. Hyojin looked at Hyunsu. How big is Earth's real fleet? Big enough, he replied. On the observation deck, panic was beginning to spread as more aliens realized that something unprecedented was happening. Whoever was approaching had technology that could hide from the council's best sensors. High Arbiter, a technician called out. We are receiving a transmission from the unknown fleet. Put it on the main screens, Vexithala ordered. The wall screens around the observation deck flickered to life. A human face appeared, a woman wearing a military uniform that Hyojin had never seen before. Greetings, Galactic Council, the woman said. I am Fleet Admiral Da-Yoon of the Earth Defense Force. We are here on a humanitarian mission. Impossible, Vexithala said. Earth has no fleet, Admiral. Earth has no ships capable of reaching council space, Da-Yoon smiled. Respectfully, High Arbiter, Earth has many things you do not know about. We are traveling to the Valkyrie system to assist our friends. We suggest that no one try to stop us. You cannot do this, Vexithala replied. The Council forbids it. The Council, Da-Yoon said, has no authority over Earth's foreign policy. We are here to collect an old friend. Stand aside. The transmission ended, leaving the observation deck in shocked silence. Hyojin felt her heart racing. For the first time since she had arrived at the council, she was not embarrassed to be human. They were about to show the galaxy what humans really were. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Eternal Gratitude and watched the stars change around him. His ship was dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of council territory, along with the rest of humanity's real fleet. For 60 years, this fleet had been hidden in the dark spaces between stars. The aliens knew about Earth's patrol boats, small, simple ships that looked primitive compared to alien technology. But they had never seen these vessels. The Eternal Gratitude was 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. Its hull was made from materials that did not exist in nature, created in the hidden factories that humans had built in asteroid fields far from Earth. The ship could phase between dimensions, making it invisible to most sensors. Its weapons could crack planets, and it was just one ship in a fleet of 300. Captain, his communications officer called out, we are receiving a transmission from Fleet Admiral Da-Yoon. Put her on screen, Minho replied. The face of Admiral Da-Yoon appeared on the main display. She was a stern woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles. Minho had served under her for 15 years, but the aliens had never heard her name. All ships report status, Da-Yoon ordered. One by one, the captains of the human fleet reported in. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, and support vessels. All of them equipped with technology that the galaxy had never seen before. Dr. Subin, what is our tactical situation? Da-Yoon asked. Dr. Subin was the fleet's chief scientist. She had designed many of the advanced systems that made the human ship so powerful. Admiral, our quantum sensors show that the Council's defense fleet is mobilizing. 200 ships moving to intercept us. And the hegemony forces in Valkyrie space? Approximately 150 ships surrounding the Valkyrie homeworld. Their technology is older than ours, but they have the advantage of numbers in that system. Minho listened to the tactical report with interest. The Council thought they were dealing with primitive humans who had somehow stolen advanced technology. They had no idea what they were really facing. Admiral, Minho said, Request permission to send a message to the Council fleet. Granted, Captain. Minho activated his ship's communication system. Council fleet, this is Captain Minho of the Earth Defense Force. We have no quarrel with you. We are traveling to assist the Velkari people, who are our friends. Do not interfere, and no one will be harmed. The reply came quickly from the Council fleet commander. Human vessels, you are ordered to stop and surrender. Your ships will be impounded and your crews arrested. Minho looked at Admiral Daun's image on his screen. She nodded once. Dr. Subin, activate phase shields, Minho ordered. Phase shields active. Captain. Council fleet, Minho said into his communicator. You have been warned. The Council ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy and streams of plasma rushed toward the human fleet. For a moment, it looked like the human ships would be destroyed. Instead, the alien weapons passed right through them. The human ships had shifted slightly out of normal space-time, existing in a dimension where solid matter could not touch them. It was technology based on principles that Dr. Subin had learned from studying Velkari science texts 60 years ago. Impossible, came the voice of the Council fleet commander. Not impossible, Minho replied. Just more advanced than you realized. Admiral Daun's voice came over the fleet communication channel. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. Destination Velkari system. We have friends to save. The stars stretched into lines as the human fleet entered hyperspace. Behind them, the Council fleet was left staring at empty space, their weapons useless against technology they could not understand. On the bridge of his flagship, Minho thought about the message they had received from Elder Beowulf. The old Velkari had saved human lives 60 years ago, asking for nothing in return. Now it was time to repay that debt. Captain, his tactical officer reported, we will reach Velkari space in 6 hours. Good. Send a message ahead of us. Tell Elder Beowulf that the cavalry is coming. Meanwhile, in the Velkari system, Elder Beowulf sat in his emergency shelter beneath the surface of the Velkari homeworld. Above him, hegemony warships surrounded the planet, preparing for their final attack. The Velkari had no weapons. They had never needed them. For thousands of years, they had traveled the galaxy as peaceful traders, sharing knowledge and building friendships. Their ships were designed for commerce, not war. Now their peaceful nature was about to lead to their extinction. Elder, one of his assistants said, long-range communications are picking up a strange signal. It appears to be human? Beowulf's large eyes widened. Human, are you certain? Yes, Elder. The message says, Velkari friends, this is the Earth Defense Force. We remember what you did for us. Help is coming. Hold on for 6 more hours. Tears began to flow down Beowulf's blue cheeks. He had not dared to hope that his message to Earth would be answered. Humans were so far away, and they were still considered a minor species by most of the galaxy. Send a reply, he told his assistant. Tell them we are grateful beyond words. Above the planet's surface, War Commander Kextar of the Hegemony received reports of the strange transmission. Humans? He laughed. What can a few primitive patrol boats do against my fleet? If they want to die with their Velkari friends, let them come. Kextar was a veteran of dozens of conquests. He had destroyed civilizations and enslaved entire species. A few human ships would not change anything. He was about to learn how wrong he was. 6 hours later, space at the edge of the Velkari system began to ripple like water. The hegemony sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching, but the readings made no sense. War Commander, his sensor officer, reported, I am detecting multiple large contacts, but I cannot get accurate readings on their size or number. Impossible. Our sensors are the best in the galaxy. Sir, the contacts are dropping out of hyperspace now. On the main screen of Kextar's flagship, stars began to be blocked out by massive shapes. The human fleet materialized out of hyperspace like ghosts becoming solid. Kextar stared in shock. The human ships were enormous, each one larger than his own flagship. And there were so many of them. How many ships? He asked quietly. Sir, I count 300 vessels. All of them appear to be heavily armed. 300 ships. Kextar's fleet had 150 vessels, and most of them were smaller than these human monsters. This is impossible, Kextar said. Our intelligence reports say that humans have only a handful of primitive ships. Apparently, his tactical officer replied, our intelligence was wrong. A communication came from the human fleet. The face that appeared on screen belonged to a human female wearing an admiral's uniform. Hegemony Forces, Admiral Da-Un said. I am Fleet Admiral Da-Un of the Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to withdraw from Velkari space immediately. Human, Kextar snarled. You are outnumbered. My fleet will destroy you. War Commander Da-Un replied calmly. You are not outnumbered. You are outclassed. This is your only warning. Kextar cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. All ships prepare to attack. Show these primitives what happens when they interfere with the hegemony. Sir, are you certain? Their ships are much larger than ours. Size means nothing without proper weapons. Attack! The hegemony fleet opened fire. Beams of plasma and kinetic projectiles streaked toward the human ships. For a moment, it looked like the human fleet would be overwhelmed by the barrage. Then the human ships began to move. They did not move like normal spacecraft, which had to use thrusters and follow the laws of physics. Instead, they flowed through space like living things, dodging attacks with impossible grace. Some of them seemed to simply vanish and reappear in different locations. When the human ships returned fire, their weapons were like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Beams of pure energy that could slice through the strongest armor, projectiles that phased through shields and exploded inside enemy hulls, gravity weapons that crushed ships like empty cans. Within minutes, half of Kextar's fleet was destroyed or disabled. The rest were trying to flee, but the human ships were faster. Impossible, Kextar whispered as he watched his fleet being systematically dismantled. How did primitive humans develop such technology? On the surface of the Velkari homeworld, Elder Beowulf and his people watched the battle through their sensors. The humans were not just winning. They were being careful not to completely destroy the hegemony ships. They were disabling them, capturing the crews alive. Even in battle, humans showed mercy. Elder, his assistant said with wonder in his voice. The human fleet commander is requesting communication with you. Beowulf nodded, and Admiral Da-Un's face appeared on their screen. Elder Beowulf, she said with a smile, we have come to take you and your people to safety. Prepare for evacuation. Admiral, Beowulf replied, his voice shaking with emotion. We cannot thank you enough. But how did you arrive so quickly? How do you have such powerful ships? Da-Un's smile grew wider. Elder, 60 years ago your people taught us that knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. We have been good students. As human transport ships began landing on the Velkari homeworld, Beowulf realized something that filled him with joy. The humans had not just remembered their debt. They had grown strong enough to repay it. War Commander Kextar watched his flagship's main screen in disbelief. Half of his fleet was gone. The other half was either damaged or surrendering, and the human ships had barely taken any damage at all. This was not how wars were supposed to work. The hegemony had conquered dozens of worlds. They had crushed every enemy they had faced, but these humans fought with technology that seemed impossible. War Commander, his communications officer, called out, the human admiral is requesting to speak with you. Kextar wanted to refuse. He wanted to fight to the death rather than surrender to primitives from a backwater world. But around him, his bridge crew was looking at their destroyed fleet with fear in their eyes. Put her through, he said finally. Admiral Da-Un's face appeared on the screen. She looked calm and professional, not like someone who had just won a great victory. War Commander Kextar, she said, your fleet is defeated. Order your remaining ships to stand down, and no more of your people will die. Human, Kextar snarled. The hegemony does not surrender to inferior species. With respect, War Commander, the evidence suggests that we are not the inferior species here. Around the bridge, Kextar's officers were staring at their tactical displays. The human fleet had not even used all of their ships in the battle. Most of them were now moving toward the Velkari planet, preparing to evacuate the civilians. What do you want? Kextar asked. I want you to leave Velkari space and never return. The Velkari people are under human protection now. And if I refuse? Da-Un's expression did not change. Then I will disable the rest of your ships and leave you stranded here until someone comes to collect you. Your choice. Kextar looked around his bridge. His weapons were offline. His shields were failing. His fleet was beaten. Very well, he said through clenched teeth. We will withdraw. Wise choice. And War Commander? Spread the word to your friends in the hegemony. The galaxy has changed. Weak species now have protectors. The communication ended, leaving Kextar staring at a blank screen. Around him, his officers began the process of gathering the survivors and preparing to leave Velkari space. On the surface of the Velkari homeworld, Elder Beowulf stood in the main plaza of his city and watched human ships landing all around him. The ships were sleek and graceful, nothing like the crude vessels the galaxy thought humans used. Captain Minho walked down the ramp of his shuttle and approached the elderly Velkari leader. Behind him came a team of human medical personnel and evacuation specialists. Elder Beowulf, Minho said with a respectful bow. I am Captain Minho. We have come to take you and your people to safety. Beowulf looked at the human captain with tears in his large eyes. Captain, I cannot believe you came. When I sent that message to Earth, I hoped, but I did not dare to believe. The Velkari saved human lives 60 years ago, Minho replied. We do not forget our debts. Medical Chief Yoon Young stepped forward. She was a small woman with kind eyes and gentle hands. Elder, our medical teams are ready to help any of your people who are injured or sick. We have ships that can carry your entire population to safety. But where will we go? Beowulf asked. Our worlds are destroyed. We have nowhere left. You have somewhere, Minho said with a smile. Earth has prepared a new world for your people. It has oceans like your homeworld and cities ready for you to live in. You will be safe there. Around the plaza, Velkari civilians were emerging from their shelters. They looked thin and frightened after months of siege, but hope was returning to their faces as they saw the human rescue teams. Colonel Ji-hai was coordinating the evacuation from her command post near the landing zone. She was a tough soldier who had spent years training for missions like this, but even she was moved by the reunion between the humans and Velkari. Captain, she reported to Minho, we estimate we can evacuate the entire population within 12 hours. Our transport ships can carry 50,000 people each. What about the Velkari who are scattered on other worlds? Beowulf asked. We already have teams searching for survivors, Ji-hai replied. Any Velkari who escaped the hegemony attacks will be found and brought to safety. As the evacuation began, human and Velkari worked together with an efficiency that amazed everyone. The humans had prepared for this mission carefully. They had food that Velkari could eat, medicine for Velkari biology, and translators who could speak the Velkari language perfectly. But more than that, they treated the Velkari with respect and kindness. They helped elderly Velkari onto the transport ships. They carried Velkari children who were too scared to walk. They made sure families stayed together. Elder Beowulf walked through the evacuation zone, watching humans and Velkari working side by side. He remembered the young human officer he had met 60 years ago on the colony ship Harmony. That officer had grown up to become Captain Tae-ho, the man who had organized this rescue. Captain Minho, Beowulf said, may I ask you something? Of course, Elder. Your ships, your technology. It is far beyond what we thought humans possessed. How is this possible? Minho smiled. Elder, do you remember what your people taught us about knowledge sharing? Yes. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. Your people gave us scientific principles that we did not understand at the time. We spent 60 years studying them, learning from them, building on them. We used what you taught us to create new technologies. But why did you hide your true capabilities from the galaxy? Because, Minho replied, sometimes it is better to be underestimated. The galaxy saw us as harmless primitives, so they left us alone. That gave us time to grow strong. Beowulf nodded slowly. You became strong not to conquer others, but to protect your friends. Exactly. As the last Velkari civilians were loaded onto the transport ships, Elder Beowulf took one final look at his homeworld. The cities where his people had lived for thousands of years were empty now. The gardens where Velkari children had played were abandoned, but his people were alive. They would survive to build new cities and plant new gardens, and they would do it under the protection of friends who had not forgotten them. Captain, Beowulf said, there are not enough words in any language to thank you for what you have done. Elder, Minho replied, you do not need to thank us. This is what friends do for each other. The transport ships began to lift off, carrying the last survivors of the Velkari people toward safety. As they departed, the human warships formed a protective escort around them. Admiral Da Yoon's voice came over the fleet communication channel. All ships, mission accomplished. The Velkari people are safe. Set course for human space. As the human fleet prepared to leave Valkyrie space, news of their victory was already spreading across the galaxy. The defeat of the hegemony fleet was shocking enough. But the technology the humans had displayed was beyond anything most species had imagined possible. On the Council homeworld, High Arbiter Vexithala was receiving reports from her intelligence services. The humans had not just rescued the Valkyrie, they had done it with a military force that could challenge the strongest powers in the galaxy. How did we not know about this? She asked her advisors. The humans have been very careful to hide their true capabilities, one advisor replied. They showed us only what they wanted us to see. And now? Now the balance of power in the galaxy has changed. Every species will want to know where humanity stands. Are they conquerors like the hegemony? Are they potential allies? Are they a threat? Vexthala studied the tactical reports from the Valkyrie system. The human ships had used weapons and defensive systems that were decades ahead of anything else in the galaxy. If humans decided to expand their territory, few species could stop them. Send a message to the human representative, she ordered. Tell Counselor Eugene that the Council would like to discuss improving relations with Earth. What about the Valkyrie situation? Another advisor asked. The Valkyrie situation is resolved, Vexthala replied. The humans have made their position clear. Any species that harms the Valkyrie will face human retaliation. In the depths of space, the human fleet escorted the Valkyrie refugees toward their new home. Elder Beowulf sat in the passenger compartment of Captain Minho's ship, watching the stars pass by. Beside him sat young Valkyrie children who had been born on the homeworld, but would grow up on a new planet under human protection. They looked scared and confused, not understanding why they had to leave their homes. Elder, one child asked, will the humans stay with us on the new world? Yes, little one, Beowulf replied. The humans are our friends. They will make sure we are safe. Are they strong enough to protect us from the bad aliens? Beowulf smiled and patted the child's head. Child, I have learned something today. The humans are not just strong. They are strong in all the right ways. As the fleet continued toward human space, messages were racing across the galaxy. The news of humanity's hidden fleet was causing panic in some quarters and celebration in others. Species that had been oppressed by stronger neighbors began to wonder if humans might help them too. Warlike races that had planned to expand into human space began reconsidering their strategies. And in the halls of power throughout the galaxy, leaders asked themselves the same question. What else have the humans been hiding? 1 month after the rescue of the Valkyrie people, President Hosiak of Earth sat in his office and looked at the stack of messages on his desk. Every day brought new requests from alien species across the galaxy. Some wanted trade agreements. Others requested military protection. A few were offering to join the human sphere of influence. The galaxy had discovered that humanity was not the primitive species they had believed. Now everyone wanted to be humanity's friend. Mr. President, his secretary announced, Ambassador Yeun is here to see you. Send her in. Ambassador Yeun entered the office carrying a briefcase full of diplomatic proposals. She had once been a junior diplomat working under Counselor Eugene. Now she was Earth's chief representative to the galaxy, negotiating from a position of strength that no human had ever enjoyed before. How many requests today? President Hosiak asked. 47 species requesting protection treaties, Yeun replied. 23 asking for military assistance against their enemies. And the entire Galactic Council wants to meet with you personally. The president leaned back in his chair. The same council that treated us like children for 60 years? The very same. High Arbiter Vexthala has requested an urgent meeting to discuss mutual cooperation and respect between Earth and the Council. I imagine she has. What is the status of the Valkyrie resettlement? Yeun smiled. Elder Beowulf reports that his people are adapting well to New Velcora. The planet we prepared for them has everything they need. Their population is already growing again. And Elder Beowulf himself? He has accepted our offer to serve as cultural advisor for human-alien relations. He says he wants to help us understand other species the way his people once helped us understand the galaxy. Through the window of his office, President Hosiak could see human ships coming and going from Earth's orbital stations. But these were not the small patrol boats that aliens had seen for decades. These were the massive vessels of humanity's true fleet, no longer hidden from the galaxy's view. Captain One Shik commanded one of those ships now. His vessel, the Protector, was part of humanity's new peacekeeping fleet. These ships patrolled space lanes that had once been controlled by pirates and raiders, ensuring safe passage for any species that requested protection. Mr. President, Ye-Yun continued, we need to discuss the obligation doctrine. More species are requesting to be included every day. The obligation doctrine was humanity's new policy toward the galaxy. Any species that had shown kindness to humans in the past, or any species that was being oppressed by stronger neighbors, could request human protection. It was a simple idea that was changing the balance of power across known space. How many species are currently under our protection? The President asked. 37, including the Velkari. The number grows every week. And our fleet can handle this responsibility? According to Admiral Daon, yes. Our hidden shipyards have been building vessels for 60 years. We have more than enough ships to protect our allies and defend Earth. A soft chime indicated that another message had arrived. The President's communication screen showed the face of High Arbiter Vexithala. President Hosiok, Vexithala said, her metallic voice carefully polite. The Galactic Council formally requests a meeting to discuss Earth's new role in galactic politics. Tell the High Arbiter that I will meet with the Council next week, the President replied. But the meeting will be held on Earth, not on the Council homeworld. Ye-Yun raised an eyebrow. That is quite a diplomatic statement. The Council spent 60 years treating us as inferiors, the President said. If they want to talk to us now, they can come to us. Meanwhile, in the former hegemony territories, War Commander Kextar sat in exile on a remote world. His defeat at the hands of the human fleet had cost him his command and his honor. But it had also taught him something important about the changing galaxy. A message arrived on his personal communicator. It was from one of his former officers. Commander, the officer reported, 3 more hegemony worlds have declared independence. They are requesting human protection from retaliation. Kextar was not surprised. The hegemony had held their empire together through fear and superior military power. But humans had demonstrated that hegemony forces were not invincible. Now every oppressed world was looking for a way to break free. What is the status of the Central Hegemony Fleet? Kextar asked, retreating to core systems. The High Command has ordered all forces to avoid contact with human ships. The mighty hegemony, which had once threatened to conquer half the galaxy, was now afraid to fight a species they had dismissed as primitive just months before. On New Velkara, Elder Beowulf stood in his new garden and watched Velkari children playing with human visitors. The children were learning each other's languages and sharing games from both cultures. Dr. Sora approached him, carrying a datapad filled with scientific notes. She had been studying Velkari biotechnology, looking for ways to help the relocated species adapt to their new world. Elder, she said, I have the latest reports on your people's health. Everyone is adapting well to the new environment. Dr. Sora, Beowulf replied, I must ask you something that has been puzzling me. Your people have shown us such kindness. You rescued us, gave us a new world, and asked for nothing in return. Why? Sora smiled. Because 60 years ago your people showed us the same kindness. You taught us that strong civilizations help weak ones, not because they expect payment, but because it is the right thing to do. And now you are the strong civilization. Yes. And we remember the lesson your people taught us. Beowulf nodded slowly. I think I understand why the galaxy fears humans now. It is not because you are powerful. It is because your power comes from moral strength, not military conquest. That makes you unpredictable. How so? Conquerors want territory and resources. Diplomats want trade and influence. But humans want justice and friendship. No one knows how to respond to that. In the Galactic Council chambers, the emergency session was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species were arguing about how to respond to humanity's new power. The humans have upset the entire galactic order, complained a representative from the Merchant Guild. Their protection of weak species is disrupting our established trade routes. Perhaps, said a representative from the Scientific Union, we should consider that the established order was not working well for most species. High Arbiter Vexithala tried to maintain control of the debate. The question before us is simple. How do we incorporate humanity into the existing power structure? You cannot, said Counselor Yu-Jin, who had been promoted to senior diplomatic status after the Velkari rescue. Humanity is not interested in joining your power structure. We are creating our own. That is unacceptable, Vexthala replied. The Council has maintained galactic peace for thousands of years. What peace? Eugen asked. The hegemony was allowed to conquer and destroy at will. Weak species were ignored when they asked for help. Pirates controlled entire sectors because it was profitable for certain council members. Those are serious accusations. Those are facts, and humanity will no longer pretend that the Council's version of peace is acceptable. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in galactic history, the Council was being openly challenged by a species they could not intimidate or ignore. A week later, President Hosiok stood before the reformed Galactic Assembly, a new organization that included representatives from all species, not just the powerful ones. The meeting was being held on Earth, in a new facility built specifically for interstellar diplomacy. Elder Bay Wool sat in the front row, serving as humanity's cultural advisor. Beside him sat representatives from all 37 species under human protection. Friends, President Hosiok began, we gathered today not as rulers and subjects, but as equals in the great community of intelligent life. He gestured toward the diverse crowd of alien representatives. For too long, the galaxy has been divided between the strong and the weak. The strong took what they wanted, and the weak suffered in silence. This system was called order, but it was really organized injustice. Humanity offers a different path. We believe that strength should protect weakness, not exploit it. We believe that advanced civilizations should help primitive ones, not conquer them. We believe that the galaxy is big enough for all of us to prosper together. In the audience, High Arbiter Vexthala shifted uncomfortably in her seat. The human president was describing everything the Council had failed to do. Today, I announce the formation of the Galactic Protection Alliance. President Hosiok continued. Any species that commits to peace and mutual aid may join. Any species that faces oppression may request our help. Any species that chooses conquest over cooperation will find that their victims have defenders. The applause was thunderous, coming from representatives of dozens of small species that had never before had a voice in galactic politics. This alliance is not human-dominated, the president said. It is based on principles that my people learned from our friends the Velkari. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. Kindness given is kindness returned. And strength used to protect others makes everyone stronger. As the assembly session continued, Captain Wanshik received a priority message on his ship in orbit above Earth.